Hey everyone, welcome back. Now, got got, got quite an interesting kit to show today. Um, purchased a bit of a bundle of stuff from a collector, not too not too far away from here, and going through one of the kits, discovered a kit that was in the bundle that's quite different and quite unusual to find, and that kit in question is this one here. AMT customizing kit of the 1932 Ford V8 the Deuce. Now, this kit here is, from my understanding, is from 1960. Yeah, from 1960, and there was a roadster version that came out a year prior to this. So this seemed a little bit cool, neat and interesting to have, and surprising thing that I came across about it is that it's a partially built kit, but amazingly, everything about it is still here. So, go through it a little bit. So, first of all, this was an extra set of decals from a monogram kit from the 1940 Ford pickup customizing kit. Now, there wasn't this kit in the bundle, unfortunately, but it's nice to have an extra set of decals that'll be used for something. Got the instructions here, and within it got the what would be considered the actual decals for the kit itself to build hot rod version. Now, these ones here seem to be a little bit different than the ones stylized on the kit, but I'd imagine these would be pretty much from a similar kit. Okay, yeah, looking here, yeah. These are for the Roadster kit instead of the Coupe. But, it's still quite impressive to have decals for a kit that are getting quite there in age. And it's not like it's all ripped and discolored. Everything about these look quite good. Then, of course, the instructions here, all smooth folding, not really torn up or anything. A little bit faded with age, but overall it's really quite intact. Gives you pretty much the description of all the intervals and even gives you a list of assembly instructions on how to put the car together, which is quite neat. And a couple other cars for sale, like a Thunderbird, Speedboat, a few GM vehicles, and pretty much a decent mix between Ford and GM products. And then, of course, parts list here of everything that is included in the bundle. There were a couple things in here that were a bit thrown in as extras. So, starting off here, got the chrome tree, which these are a lot of the parts for the flathead V8. So you got like the exhaust stacks, flathead, the engine, the valve covers, a custom exhaust, moonlight hubcaps, and a fairly nice chrome. And quite a nice thing about it is that there's not really a huge amount of pitting into the chrome, so you could pretty much be using it just fine. Though there's probably some that would just re-chrome this and call it good. So overall, it looks quite nice. And then of course you have your set of Ford hubcaps and a few other pieces here and there. And let's see here. Okay, well, the front end's came off a little bit, but here's pretty much what the built up of the car looks like. It's quite dusty, of course, but overall the paint job's quite a decent job. Yeah, whoever or one of the previous builders who built this kit did quite a nice job with the paintwork. It's quite smooth, not a little bit of a dull finish on it, but I'm sure it could shine up quite nicely. And of course, got the tub for the fenders. One of the brackets is broken off, but I do believe I did see it somewhere in the box. So, also got the engine stand, as you do have the option. Yeah, you do have the option between a Chevrolet V8 or the basic Ford flathead. So, pretty much, and I know there's a bunch of other kits that do have these pieces, primarily the 39 or 40 Ford, both coupe and sedan, along with the 53 Ford F100. So, I'm sure there's a bunch of others as well, of course, just name off a few. And then, got here a bag of tires, which some of these are indeed the original tires that go for this kit. Let's get this open. You pretty much have these standard Firestone Supremes. Let's see if there's any. Got another one here. Taking a look at it. Okay, some of these here don't really have any marking details, but they're pretty much stuff you'd find in a lot of the 30s through 40s and 50s kits, especially the earlier stuff. So, do have a set of those. And then, do have a set of these larger, I'd imagine like 20-inch tires that would likely have been probably for either a Model A or a Model T kit, as they're quite a significantly larger than the rims that come for the kit, as got one of the backings for the car, and as you can see, there's quite a gap difference, and of course these aren't mentioned on the instructions, so these are just extra tires that were included. And then similarly to that, got a set of Goodyear drag slicks. These also probably came from a much later kit. And let's see here, pretty much got a set of rear slicks, being the Goodyear radials. Let's see here. Yeah, just the Blue Streak drag slicks. Pretty much get pretty common, but not exactly something you'd find in this kit. And finally, another set of these Firestone drag slicks, which would be a more correct style for this kit, as that's what the car currently has right as we speak. So we pretty much got the standard tires, 5 of them actually, as you have the 4 plus the spare tire. So got all those, and then pretty much two extras of Goodyear radials, which I'd imagine would have been from a much later kit, probably from the late 80s, early 90s. So definitely parts that would not have came in the kit, but can't go wrong with having extra tires in your inventory. And then speaking of which, got the one wheel back here, and I do have the rest of the full set. Three of them are still on the sprue tree. Now these here are the front facing ones, as the inner ones have a little pin inside so that I can connect the axle through. And do have 2 more. Well, actually, let's see. got four more actually, the front half and the back half. One of these here was playing around with a little bit earlier. Did end up kind of snapping the spokes off of one of the tires, which is a bit unfortunate, but thankfully enough that this will just end up being used for the spare tire, as don't really want to risk damaging it anymore. So they just, as you can see, there's a little bit of a key slot. They just pretty much just connect straightforwardly. It's probably not the best example to use, but yeah, they just form together. Put your tire in between, and then pretty much good to go. Got all that. And this was the engine that was in the car that was built up, and this actually kind of more actually of a bonus engine that was included, as there's no option to build a supercharged engine. Plus, this is a, what is it? Dodge Rod Ram engine. Not exactly certain what kit this engine was from, but it was nicely painted up, of course. Can't really go too wrong with it. Could always just use it for another project, or if anything. So yeah, it's quite a decent addition. And you have, along with that, I do actually have both the proper engines for this kit, as this here's the Chevrolet small block. Got pretty much the two halves here, and then got the flathead. So get these two together. There we go. So got all those, and of course got the locating tab. So just pretty much just put it on the engine. Yeah, pretty much put it on the engine stand. Yeah, pretty much have it there. And then I do have, let's see here, gotta get through the parts. See if I can get the parts here. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Got pretty much good handful of the parts, got the serpentine belt and pulleys set up for the model, for the flathead engine, and a few parts like the pulley setup for the Chevy engine, along with carburetor and oil filter, which is quite a tiny little piece. A decent amount of detail, nothing too crazy. Of course, also got the coolant fan, coolant lines for the engine, plus some other stuff on the tree, which it's always nice to have, so that stuff's at least nicely organized. And we got some of the chrome stuff, like the windshield surround, which pretty much, it would fit in through the back, but just fit right through, hold into place. And then you pretty much got the full surround, which surprisingly, which I'm quite surprised that the wiper hadn't broken off, or there's any cracks in the outer frame, as something like this, it would usually get broken quite easily. Then of course got the bumpers as well, which are still in fairly good shape. A little bit of flashing around locating pins, but overall not the worst ever. And then there's pretty much last of some other painted parts, like got the front cowl, or firewall actually. It's all painted up, which seeing how the model was built up, it sits a little bit lower than it's typically supposed to. So the firewall doesn't exactly fit flush without having to take it fully apart. So probably might have to do that, but not really. Not going to really do crazy amount of work with it just at the moment. And of course, got the grill and grill surround painted in a nice. Seems to be a little bit. Yeah, I was going to say a little bit darker shade of royal blue, but looking at it now, it's probably fairly close to royal blue. So, a decent look to it, and then quite a nice couple extra features that this kit comes with is that you have the choice of the full closed hood, which is pretty much your stock car. And then you have this custom sleeved out hood, which is what you'd use, which is pretty much on the customizing kit, which will pretty much fit on like so. And of course, having the intake sticking out. And then got the full set of side fenders, which I'm not entirely sure on how these would install, but may play around with that a little bit. So just so to see how everything goes together. Then thinking about now, these might have something to do with it. Didn't see a part number for these, but I'm sure they might be. Let's see here. I'd have to play around a little bit, but I would imagine these would have something to do with the fender mounts and fender mount and locators. So it's not exactly the easiest way to mount stuff, but it shouldn't be too bad to work on. Then got pretty much finishing up the parts laying around. Got some small parts, like got the license plate bracket, which reads 1932, representing the year of the car. Another wheel backing. A tow bar, which is an interesting touch. So pretty much, let's get the bumper out. Pretty much put this either over top or underneath the bumper. Pull it behind your truck and then pretty much bring it to the racetrack. Then tow it home afterwards. And got another small part here being what looks like the horn. And then the trailer hitch that will go onto the tow vehicle. So so that's nice to have. If I don't end up using it, probably will likely be good for another vehicle or something. And got the fan blade for the flathead engine, along with the intake manifold and engine heads, which are pretty much molded in as one piece. So pretty much just have between the engine block, you pretty much build up 3 pieces to build up about a good third of the engine. Not too crazy amount of details in this as compared to pretty much more recent kits out of the years. But overall, it's not too difficult. I'm sure with enough patience and work, and make something like this turn out really nicely. Or if anything, just use whatever engines you have laying around in your junkyard, your parts yard, perhaps. Then pretty much got the front tires here. Now, these rims here are from a 70.5 Z28 Camaro kit. How I know that is that these are GM style wheels and It's a little bit hard to see, but there is Z28 and scriptures inside on top of the hubcaps. So these are a little bit. So these are of course aftermarket, so wouldn't be directly for the kit, but do look fairly decent. Putting them on the front end, as otherwise you have pretty much the alternative is taking your wagon wheel steelies and using those on the front, or if anything using, let's get that back in. Let's see. There we go. Let those back in. So then otherwise you're pretty much using the hubcap covers either on the front or back, which I mean for some it would work just fine, but having like a proper style rim just looks so much better in my opinion. So yeah, so that's pretty much how the car looks. Let's see here, get some of the got the put the Dodge engine in. Let's see if get to slide. Let's see here, get slide in a little bit more. See if it can fit in a little bit better. Probably best to go and get it, and then pretty much got the front two locating tabs, and I'll pretty much pop in right there. That's pretty much how the car is fully built by one of the previous owners of this kit. So who knows how long this could have been built for. Could have been built for the last 10 years, or who knows, could have been built like 40, 50 years ago. Which overall is quite impressive for something this surprisingly decent quality to have been built. Now, of course, I'll probably just have to glue the front tires onto the axle so they just don't keep falling off every other second. So, yeah, overall, quite surprised to have quite a vintage kit from 1960 in the collection now. It would be cool to see something like this in unbuilt condition, though of course given that you're pretty much looking at big money for a kit from the earlier years in these little tiny shoe boxes perhaps, and being able to build it up as is. Yeah, so overall fair do a little bit of a showcase on something quite significantly older. And I did do a little bit of research prior to filming, and apparently this kit here, it had been released a couple times throughout the 60s and 70s and somewhat into the 80s, though surprisingly the last release of this kit was in 2004 or 5 during the AMT Erdl phase, whilst they were under the RC2 nameplate. So, and that was available in a customizing kit, both stock and custom. And there was also a convertible version, as mentioned earlier. That one, I believe, was released in the, I'd like to say, early 2000s, late 90s as well, but hasn't really been seen ever really since. Now, there is the 29 Model A car, which is very similar, but there is a few cosmetic differences, and that's had the coupe, roadster, and pickup and woody wagon, which have been subsequently released quite a few times over the last couple decades. So, but of course, this here being the 32, not the 29, it's a little bit difficult, a little bit less common to find, but still, I mean, it's not exactly the most fanciest kit ever, but for what you could do with it, it's good potential. Now, of course, if anything, too, there's also the pretty much the Revell version, which gives you more opportunity. But for if you're an AMT collector or specialist, this is quite interesting little kit to have. So I think it's a little bit, yeah, it's a bit rambling for now. So pretty much that'll pretty much be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.